Well, hey friends, thank you so much for checking out this video. This is the 5 Criterion edition, and I am here with the first ever The 5 guest, my friend Stephanie from Movie Chatter. How's it going, Stephanie?
Good, John. How are you?
That's doing great. I was actually thinking that today when I was making notes for this conversation. I was like, oh, Stephanie is the very first ever 5 conversation. This is now, we're pushing 30 episodes. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a very
thank you
popular
again
segment.
for doing that.
Well, thank you for having me. It's popular. People know you by that.
Well, I'm enjoying getting to know people through
cool.
it. So it's been fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
So, I like it.
Yeah. How are you enjoying this Criterion month sale? I didn't go nuts this month.
No. Yeah, I am cutting back. As we had talked about a few days ago, and onward and onward. I have pre-ordered Malcolm X.
Oh, that's great.
And I pre-ordered, I want to say Wall-E.
Oh yeah, cool.
And then I got Night of the Living Dead 4K on an Amazon gift card.
Nice.
And that's, I think, pretty much it. I had Sound of Metal pre-ordered and paid for, so that came in. So that was it.
Nice.
You know,
Sound of Metal is one that I'm really interested in. If it was, is it still streaming? I know it was streaming.
I don't know. There was a Blu-ray release that I don't know if it's still out there.
Oh, okay.
But I know it's in a box headed to a certain state.
Okay.
And it's a really good Blu-ray, but I have to say, like, one of the best things of that movie is the sound mixing.
Oh, really?
Because they really do a great job of putting you in the point of view and the perspective of the guy that's losing his hearing. And he, you love music and everything, so I think you'll really be able to relate to, like, imagine you love music it's your whole life, and now you can't hear that music.
Yeah.
And you're trying to play, and he was, trying to play by the thump, thump, thump that he could feel.
Yeah.
And they do such a good job with the sound mixing. And it's a great story too. It's really good. Well worth the pickup.
I'll have to pick that up then. It's I went into the sale with, like, there's 2 or 3 I want to get. And then that ballooned to 5. And then as I've been doing these conversations, it's ballooned to 8. And then last night I couldn't sleep. So it's like 2:30 in the morning, and I'm just like scrolling on the Criterion site. And now I have a list of like 25. But in this sale, I picked up 2 that were Christmas gifts. So I'm not actually going to see those for
that's fair. Santa.
A month. Yeah. So Santa hooked me up with 2.
Okay.
And as I was messaging you today, I potentially, through this Walmart sale, grabbed a Beatles record, Beatles record that I potentially will flip at a record store to maybe finance 2 other Criterion films. So.
Who are you right now?
Well,
I'm so excited that I got your message last night. And of course, that, when I send you a message at 2 a.m. that I'm running through the house because, I'm wide awake. And
that's true.
Now with my new ailment, I'm always worried that I'm going to just drop dead. So I have to keep moving, and I'm running and I'm running through the house, and I'm like, $15 vinyls. And I had to get the Let It Be box set, because let me tell you that I told you that mini series.
Yes.
Who did that? Peter Jackson, I think, did that.
Yeah.
And I believe it's still on Apple Plus or Apple TV, but fantastic. And it's genius. It's very long. It's 8 hours. So you have to break it up.
Okay. Wow.
But the brilliance behind, and they didn't even want to do it. They were at the end. It was their last album. They didn't even want to be there. Like, at one point, George Harrison just gets up and he leaves. He's like, I'm out of here. I'm done. And they have to go, and it takes them days to get him back.
Really?
And they were so done. All of them were, you could tell they're coming in. They're stoned. They're hungover. Yoko's there screaming, hollering. It's crazy. But the music that came out of that was just amazing.
It is.
And when I saw that box set for $15, you killed my night.
That's the one I bought.
Which brought me to 5th grade.
Yes, and I want to hear that story.
You want to hear it now?
Absolutely. Perfect segue. We're on the Beatles. So
okay, we're on the Beatles. So my 5th grade music teacher, her name was Miss West. I'll never forget her. She was just a child of the Haight-Ashbury scene. She was a big hippie. She was like a cutout of Janis Joplin. She was so
Really?
cool. And I never met anybody that loved the Beatles more than Miss West. So she took a whole half of a year and she taught us album by album, everything about each album, each song, each guy. Like, she taught us everything she could. She's playing it on the piano, she's singing. I was captivated by it. So she announces at the end, and I was obsessed with it. I've always loved the Beatles. So at the end of the semester, she said, we're going to have our final. And she said, and the person who gets the highest grade in the class is going to get all my first pressing Beatles albums.
Unreal.
And some of them were signed.
Oh my gosh.
Signed.
Wow.
Amazing collection. I studied for weeks for that test. I got a 99. Somebody got 100.
No.
One person got 100.
Oh.
It was my John Goes to Be in the Creed movie moment. I was crushed.
Oh,
I could have had a first pressing Beatles vinyl collection with autographs.
Unbelievable.
1 point. And I'm thinking, I'm a 99. I'm gold. Like, who's going to get 100 on it? No one gets 100 on a test.
Nobody gets 100.
Somebody got 100.
Did you have to watch like the presentation of it and everything?
No, it was a private thing. You got to go to her office and have lunch.
Are you kidding me?
I could have even hung out with Miss West, who was like the coolest human being I had ever met. I didn't even get to hang out with her.
I had to skip school for like a week.
Oh my God. I just wanted everything to stop. Just leave me alone. So yeah, so you'd think I would be like a little salty about the Beatles, but I love them even more. So
wow, that's a great story though.
It brought
it's
me
heartbreaking,
right back.
But
it's like your Creed moment. It's the same thing. It's like you're so and I had it. I'm like, I'm going into school and I'm like, I got this. I suck at math. I'm terrible at science. I can't spell to save my life, but I know the Beatles.
And that just is heartbreaking when you're that close. Like, you're like, I can taste it.
1 point.
I'm a shoo-in. This is golden.
And I'm thinking, no one cares this much because you're in 5th grade. Half the kids were asleep. Like, obviously someone else was very interested, or their father wanted the set, and he's like, you're getting 100.
Whoever got that better still have that set. You know what I mean?
I was going to say, that's something you never get rid of.
No, ever.
Oh, it was crushing.
Unbelievable.
Crushing. And it was in the 70s. So, the stuff was in mint condition.
Absolutely.
Because that was like right out of their time.
So, did she have like multiples of all this stuff that she was able to give away?
Yeah, she was a collector, and she had been a roadie. Like, she had done different things. I don't know if she was a roadie for them, but like, she was in the music scene. So, and then she decided to come back here because her family was from here and teach music, but she was just the coolest.
That's amazing.
Like, you could tell she was a person who had stories to tell.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to her now. I don't even know if she's still alive, but she was fascinating.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm so
but
sorry.
I learned a lot. 1.99. Who loses with 99?
Nobody loses with 99.
I do.
That'd be a great t-shirt. I lose with 99.
Yeah, 99%. I still lost. That's like,
that'd be a great t-shirt.
Yeah, that's the story of my life, though. I'm like 1% away from reality.
I'm resigned to be that person. Like, what?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I will never win. Someone else will always. And, so there is some like, it is soothing though to know, like, because my hopes will never get up that high.
Yeah, you'll never be crushed again.
Yeah, because I'm like, I already got. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's how I feel. I'm like, nope, not my day. I don't even play. My mother's like, I got 10 Powerball tickets. I'm like, enjoy yourself with them. Bury them in the yard. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
You should hang out at places where they sell those and just like bring a coffee to stand there and look at everyone going, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, never going to happen.
You don't got this.
Yeah. Or I'll just touch it and say, you're done. Why? I touched it.
I touched the machine.
Yeah, I touched the machine. No one's winning. Yeah, Yeah, I have just
You'd be kicked out of there so fast.
I just have the worst, like, I just don't have that gift, people, you see these people and you're like, wow, like they just really, they step in it all the time. I step in it, but it's not what you want to step in. And I'm just like, it's not happening.
That's wild.
But we'll never be disappointed.
That's true. You can't be, because you already know.
But it makes for fun fodder.
It's true.
You
don't have as good a laugh when you win. If you don't win,
no,
like,
I mean, what good is that?
This is like the zillionth time. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I could be like, oh, here's my signed Beatles discography first pressings.
Yeah.
And you could be like, are you going to sell them? No. Do you have any kids to leave them to? No. So what are you going to do with them? I'm just going to look at them.
But instead, you've got a great story.
Instead, I have a fun story, that we can laugh at.
That's how I feel about the Creed thing. As I've got a good story now, at least.
Yeah. But, yep. So
we
are related.
Thank you for sharing that story. I've been looking forward to that story all day.
I hope it lived up to your expectations.
It did. It's heartbreaking. I genuinely still feel bad, but
and like a little fifth. The only thing that could have made that day worse is if my mother had made me wear a dress, because that was my horror. Every Thursday I had to wear a dress.
Oh, really?
My mother made it a rule, and I used to hide pants.
A rule? Wow.
In a brown bag, because I refused to wear dresses. Okay. I cried because I felt like a boy wearing a dress.
Gotcha.
So I would roll up my green jeans and I would hide them in a paper bag, and I would bring them to school and go in the bathroom and change.
Gotcha.
And I was doing really great with it until one day my mother came. They had where your parents could come and observe the class. And my mother came on a Thursday, and I left in a dress, but I was in school in jeans. So that was a bad day for me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would have been, to have to wear it, like,
forced,
thinking I'm going to win today. Like, at least this will make it better.
Yeah.
That would have made it just doubly worse.
Yeah. At least it wasn't a Thursday, because I would have been in a dress and I would have lost, and it would have been terrible. Yeah.
Wow. So now, do you have like other pressings of all of the records now?
I don't have all of them. I have, like I was telling you before, I have like a mixed bag. I have some CDs, some vinyl.
Me too. Same
but they're just some of the, I try to get the decent pressings of them, so at least they sound decent, because some of the pressings are so bad now.
I don't even know how. I'm so new to vinyl. You're the one who got me into trouble with vinyl, pretty much.
I warned you.
You did.
And you got me into CDs, so we're even.
That's true. Yeah, we were even.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Like, so I've read in some places like colored or translucent vinyl sometimes isn't as great, and so I'm just not as versed in vinyl to know what's a good pressing, not a good pressing.
I didn't know until I heard it. Oh, okay. Like, I always saw these 180 gram whatever, and it was just what I happened to be ordering because I wanted a certain one, and it sounded fine. And I also have used ones, like I told you, from that music store that I go to where they sell, and I got them for $2. I have a couple of the Cat Stevens, and I think they're pretty old pressings. They look a little beat up. They sound phenomenal.
Wow.
And I had something and it got scratched, or I think one of the dogs chewed it. Something happened and I had to get a replacement. And I bought it on Amazon. Looked the same to me. Sound was totally different. The original one that I had was so much better. The newer one, you had to turn it way up, and there were pops and cracks, and like it was mostly the sound was just so low.
Okay.
There wasn't that like bass and that push and that, that thump that you look for when you listen to music.
Sure.
Because like some of the pressings that I have, they sound amazing. And then I'll put on other ones and I'm like, I have to crank the volume up, or you have to adjust the levels, and it just doesn't sound the same.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily the new ones that sound better. It's sometimes the old ones sound better.
Well, I just bought, it's my album of the year. I'm thinking of doing a video on it. It's Jack White's, not his last album, the one before. Mm-hmm. And I put it on, and his stuff is always quality artwork, the bonus stuff, and it just doesn't sound great. And so I went to a record store and talked to them and just said, I'm new to this. Is there something wrong with this? And they threw it on their record player, which is nice. And mine's like off Facebook Marketplace.
Right.
And they're like, no, everything's fine with it. But the volume does sound like significantly
Yeah.
lower.
Yeah. It could be. I mean, I don't know, like, because like I said, I see these 180 gram, which is a lot of the, like, if you could feel it when you get the record, it's heavier, it's thicker.
Right.
And they've all sounded fine to me. Like I got a lot from Waxworks.
Okay.
And there are a lot of the movie scores or soundtracks, whichever they're selling it as. Sometimes it's a score, sometimes it's a soundtrack, and they always sound good. Where I'm finding more difference in sound and quality is just on the just regular music.
Okay.
Like if you go and buy like Cat Stevens to Cat Stevens, like depending on, and I don't know how to tell the difference just by looking at the packaging.
Okay.
So I just go by how it sounds to me. And like my record player wasn't anything, it's not anything to write home about. It's decent. It was $100, but
okay.
It's not like I spent thousands on a record player setup either.
Well, I looked up, like I went on a few message boards. I've got a friend he has just a monster collection. And so he added me to some Facebook group, and someone had posed the question, hey, I'm new into this and want to get a solid, good record player. And it was just like, I mean, it was hundreds of dollars.
Oh yeah.
Or they said a middle of the road one. And
yeah.
I was just like, oh wow. Yeah, I'm not there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah. It's like it's like if you get a 4K player.
True.
You know, it's like you can get the $80 player, you can get the $100 player, which is probably going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing.
True.
You know, I mean, I once talked to a guy, an AV guy, and he said, if it spins, don't pay a lot of money for it because it's going to break eventually.
Okay.
Like he's like, if you want to get a speaker, like my speakers that I have are 25 years old. Easily.
Really?
And they sound brand new.
Wow.
But I've replaced like he said, if it spins, it's going to break.
Okay.
So CD players, Blu-ray players, and they break. So that's how I go. I spent money on my speakers. Everything else can kind of be replaced.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, people are watching this and they read the title and it said Criterion.
Yeah, we forget and we're just chatting.
I'm gonna have to change this to Two Friends Talk. At the end, there's something about Criterion.
Yeah. We'll speed through that part.
Yeah. So friends, if you're watching this, I apologize, but there will be a couple moments of Criterion on here.
Yeah,
so
we have it.
That's good. Well, do you want to go through the 5 questions?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this. I have my blank sheet of paper.
Okay.
For writing down titles to grow my wish list later.
Okay.
So cool. Well, first question, what Criterion have you seen most recently?
Most recently, I watched a film by Kirsten Johnson called The Camera Person. And it is Spine 853. And it is a documentary film. She also did the film Dick Johnson is Dying.
Oh, yeah.
Or Dick Johnson is Dead. I forget how she put it. And that was about her father. This is about her travels. And she goes all over the world. And while she's doing that, she shows you pictures from different places, different scenarios that happen around the world, how hospitals run, how people live, how they get their food. And she mixes in with it her mother's story. So her own story is in this too.
Wow.
So it's a bit of her memoir because it was the kind of the middle of the road when her mother was having issues with, I believe it was Alzheimer's.
Wow.
Because her father had the same thing, like Alzheimer's or dementia.
Okay.
And she has her mother woven into here. And so it's her story, it's world stories. And she really spends a lot of time with one particular family who's living at the bottom of like these mountains. They're living in almost like just like a ditch and they're totally self-sufficient. And it's a large family and she really takes to them. And at one point she makes them their own version of this and goes all the way back to take it to them. Wow. And she, shares it with her kids and it's very, very cool. She's a very cool woman.
Oh, neat.
And if you ever get a chance to see anything she's involved with, I highly recommend her. She's awesome.
Okay. And the one
Kirsten
about her
Johnson.
dad, is that well done as well?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And she also, I don't know if she was a producer, um, Citizen 4, the documentary about Edward Snowden,
Oh, yeah.
who's over in exile in Russia. She was part of that project too. So
Okay.
I don't know if she was the lead, but camera person and Dick Johnson is dead, or Dick Johnson is dead. I think it's the new one's called, but
Okay.
fantastic. She's great.
I'll watch that trailer later.
Yeah, she's great.
Question number 2. What was the first Criterion film you ever watched or purchased?
The first Criterions I ever watched were part of a film class that I took in college.
Oh, really?
And it was things like Seven Samurai and whatnot. It was called like a film study or history of film something. And it was an elective. And I just took it because I liked movies. And I thought it was going to be a night at Blockbuster. And it turned into actual film study. And I loved it.
Wow.
So the first Criterion that I got was actually, it was a DVD of Silence of the Lambs, but I didn't know it was it just said Criterion Collection. And I gave it to a friend. It had nothing in it, no books, no nothing. It was back before I think they really made something of what they were selling, right now you get the books, you get the special features. It wasn't like that when they first started, not with what I saw.
Sure.
So when they went to Blu-ray, I grabbed 2 that I really had liked from the class. And the first one's The 400 Blows.
Okay.
Which is an excellent film. It is actually spine number 5 in the collection. And it's autobiographical by the guy who wrote it. And it's like a coming of age story of a troubled young boy who feels like he's misunderstood. It's a French film.
Okay.
And he feels misunderstood. It's from 1959, so it's just out of your favorite years, but it's close enough.
It's on the edge.
But he's always getting in trouble and this and that. It's just because he's not heard at home. But it's a really, especially for boys, I think it's a really interesting story, and it shows how much trouble he gets into, and it's basically a cry for help. But it's a good movie.
Okay. And
the second one I bought at the same time is number 647, and it's Marlon Brando in On the Waterfront.
That's on my list.
This is a good one. Definitely worth it. Yeah, this is really, really good. And it's kind of like a gangster movie, but not really.
Okay.
And he was a boxer, and they told him when he was going to win, when he was going to take a fall, and he meets a girl and he wants to be a better person and not be involved with these people anymore. And he's at a moment in his life when he's regretting some of his choices, and he wants to be, he's like, I know I can be a better man. And that's basically what this story is about.
Okay.
And he is fantastic in it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good one. I liked it a lot.
That one's got excellent packaging, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they switched it to the keep case.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I still see people getting this, but I don't know if it's like readily available. I mean, I know people still pick it up, but you get it's the
nice.
Yeah, it's got like it's got the inside there, and then it's got a nice book.
Oh wow, that's great.
On the front. Yeah, it's a beautiful set. I mean, I'm sure it still comes with the book and everything, but if you like the digipacks, it's one of the nicer ones.
Okay.
They don't hold up that great on the shelves because the corners really get beat up.
Sure.
But yeah, they're nice. I like them, but this is definitely a go-to.
Nice.
You would enjoy it.
Yeah, it's been on my list, and well, it's the 30s and 40s films keep jumping up, and
yes,
I pick those, but I did. So the 2 I got for Christmas are not from the 30s and 40s. My Dinner with Andre and Buck and the Preacher. So those are the 2 I have. So 70s and 80s. I think it's 70s and 80s. So
I grabbed Buck and the Preacher because you told me that it was coming out.
Well, you're a huge Sydney fan. So
love Sydney.
Yeah.
Yes, it's my man. So those are the first 2 that I Blu-ray. Those are the first 2 I picked up.
That's awesome. All right. Third question. What Criterion film has had the greatest impact on you emotionally impacted your worldview, life perspective?
I'm gonna again. I pulled two, but this is the first one. Daniel Blake.
Okay, yeah.
Have you seen this? Or
I haven't seen it. I've heard of it, but I've
heard of
never
it?
seen it.
Yeah, it's Spine 906, and it takes place in the UK. And he is going through the labyrinth that is the social services, and he is entitled to certain things. He's worked, he's done what he needed to do. He needs insurance, he needs income. Either think SSI, SSDI, Social Security, retirement, whatever it may be, and he just can't get help. And he's in this labyrinth, and this front is, he ends up painting this on a wall because he's so frustrated. He paints it on the side of the social services building because he's like, someone please just help me, just answer my questions.
Wow.
And he just keeps it next window, next window, next window. But it's so accurate. And I watched this at a time when I was dealing with the system.
Okay.
So it really, really hit home. And I was like, wow, somebody sees me, and it just also showed me that it wasn't any different anywhere else. Like, systems are broken, and there's too many people that need the services and not enough people to give the services. So, that's what happens. And the second film that I picked is because you can't deny the relevance today. And I will preface this with a warning that this is not going to be a film that is for everyone.
Okay.
If you're uncomfortable with the subject matter, just stay away from it. But if it's something that you're interested in seeing or learning more about, this is a really accurate depiction of what can go wrong. It's Spine number 958. It's called 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days. And it is in Romanian with English subtitles. And I believe they are going, they're living in a place where terminating a pregnancy is illegal.
Okay.
And this gal and her college roommate are looking for help to terminate a pregnancy. And the girl isn't even sure how far along she is. She's guesstimating. They're hooking up with the wrong people, giving them the wrong information. And this just shows why it is so important that things like this are regulated and regulated by medical professionals.
Right.
Because this is exactly what ends up happening.
Wow.
And like I said, it's not a film for everyone.
Okay.
They don't shy away from anything. If it is disturbing to you, don't watch it.
Gotcha.
But it's out there if you're interested. And it definitely impacted me a great deal. And I actually went back and revisited it after the Roe v. Wade decision came down, because things can get really bad really fast. And this is a really good example of that. So
now, what year
I
did
thought
that
it was
come
important.
out?
This one came out in 2007.
Okay, so it's a fairly contemporary film.
Yeah. And it's tough stuff.
Wow.
But I think it's important. But like I said, people, I think a lot of people don't want to deal with that side of it. And I respect that.
Right.
I understand.
Sure.
But
I've never heard of that film before.
No, it's he's got a few. I'm not quite sure how to say his name. It's Christian. I don't even want to try and. It's Mungiu, Mungiu. But he's got a few films in the collection that are very good.
Okay.
He's got another one called The Graduation, and I forget the other one. He has a few, but he's a good filmmaker.
Well, that's on my list to check out.
Yeah.
You and Cinema Dave are dropping so many titles on me that I've never heard of.
What's funny is I heard Cinema Dave, and I love Cinema Dave. And it's funny because I love the 400 Blows so much. And I heard him, he was talking to someone, or maybe it was one of his videos. And he said he tried to watch it and he just couldn't, like he wasn't in the mood for it. And it didn't really catch him. And I think it was how we were talking about, or not we, but whoever he was talking to or explaining how sometimes a movie doesn't hook you the first time and you have to try again. And I've had that with quite a few, especially in the Criterion, because they tend to be very dark for the most part.
Yes.
Or they're not easy watches, a lot of them.
Yep.
So I think sometimes you just have to be in the right mood and the right moment.
That's
But
so
KB and
interesting.
when KB and I chatted earlier, I said I give everything at least 2 tries.
Okay, that's a good rule.
And if I think it has potential, more, but at least 2.
Well, I told Dave and when he and I talked the other day, his video is coming out in a day or 2.
Yeah.
The timeline's going to be all messed up. So whenever people are watching this, it'll
Dave
be already
will be
out.
here.
Yeah.
Hi, Dave.
So he said, and it was so funny, we ended up talking about it. And I must have seen that same conversation you're talking about, because there are times where I told them where I've been ready to pull a film and to trade it in.
Yeah.
And I literally can hear him saying, sometimes you watch a film, it's not the right season of your life.
Yep.
You need to watch it at a different time. And I just shove it back in the collection and go, maybe another day.
Yep.
So that's interesting. You brought that up. He and I were talking about that in our conversation.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that one. I just watched you with Nathan, and I have to watch James and KB.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I find all those guys so interesting, and they always, just like you,
you're
introducing me to stuff that I had no idea about. So
yeah,
it's great.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Next question. Number 4, what Criterion film do you consider not necessarily underrated, because it's in the collection, so it's significant, but maybe one that you don't hear people talk about enough that you think maybe deserves a little more attention?
I think, again, I picked 2, but the other one's quick. They're both quick. This one is, KB and I talked about this one too. It's called Che.
Oh yeah.
And it's actually a 2 film collection. There's part 1 and part 2, and they're long. They're each 135 minutes.
Okay.
And it shows his life when he was actually fighting alongside with Castro.
Okay.
And they were trying to liberate the people, or so he thought, of Cuba. But I always say that I wish more people would talk about this one, because he's a really interesting guy. And I pair it with, I say, watch this first, The Motorcycle Diaries.
Okay.
If you've never seen The Motorcycle Diaries, this is about his life when he was young.
Oh, really?
And he took a motorcycle trip with a friend through, where did they go? Through Central America? Latin America. They went through Latin America. And he actually stops and he's helping people in a leper community. He went places that no one else would go. And he had such an open heart and a willingness and a desire to help and save people. And that's how this is him as an adult. This is how he got involved with this. And I really believe that he had a different path. He thought they were on a different path than where it ended.
Oh, I see.
Because he had such a pure heart, and you see that in The Motorcycle Diaries.
Okay.
And to watch these 3, one after the other, you get a whole snapshot of his adult life.
Okay.
And I just think that it's one I know I don't talk about a lot, and I probably should talk about it more. And I wish more people would, because it's really good. And he was a really important person.
Wow.
And like I said, I just love the pairing with the Motorcycle Diaries. So
my introduction to him, how he ended up on my radar, was, I think, watching a Rage Against the Machine show.
Okay.
And I think Zach, the lead singer, had that image on his chest. I think that was the first time I was ever introduced, or I became aware of him.
Yeah, he was really a good guy. He had really good intentions.
Okay.
And I think somewhere whatever was going on just went wrong. Like it was out of his hands. And they don't go into a lot of his relationship with Castro, so I don't know exactly if he knew the turn was or what was happening, but I know that he was still fighting for good.
Okay.
So it's really good. You have to break it up. It's a lot to take in.
Okay.
But I think it's well worth it if you're interested in the topic. And then the other one that I pulled is really because it's an amazing accomplishment for this director. It is Spine number 1083. It's called Pariah, and it's a film by Dee Rees. And Dee Rees is the first American Black woman director to get a film in the Criterion Collection.
Wow.
So it's a pretty amazing accomplishment.
Absolutely.
And it's a coming of age story. It's an LGBTQ plus story. The young woman is coming into her own and kind of coming to terms with her own sexuality. And she has a mother who is very deeply rooted in her faith.
Okay.
And there's a conflict between her and her mother. And they're trying to come to terms with how can they have a relationship when they're so different.
Wow.
And it's a really amazing film and just such high praise for the director. She's amazing and has tons of special features. And I just think that's a big accomplishment for her. So I think it deserves more attention.
And what year did that come out in, that film?
It just, the film is from 2011.
Okay.
The film itself is from 2011, but it's only been in the collection, I think, 2 years.
I was going to say, I remember seeing it in an email.
Yeah, it's relatively new. Maybe it was just last year, but it's new.
Yeah.
And I just think that's such a huge thing.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I never see anyone talk about it. Maybe it's the content. Maybe people aren't interested in the content of the film, but it's really well done. And you could put any topic that a mother and daughter or father and son, that they don't agree on and they can't come to terms, and it would fit.
Right.
It just happens to be that's what she chose. Her sexuality, that's the issue on the table. But it's just about wanting people to accept you for who you are. And when you can't have that from your family, how it affects the whole family dynamic. But it's really well done.
Wow.
And I just think it deserves more attention than it gets.
Would you put it in the arena or the camp of like Lady Bird? Or it's very different?
I think it's I think Lady Bird, actually. I mean, you're talking to a Greta Gerwig super fan.
Right.
So I just think that anything Greta Gerwig writes is just brilliant. I just think she is so smart.
Okay.
It's different, but it's the same.
Okay.
It's just presented differently.
Gotcha.
But there's also cultural differences too.
True.
So those are brought forth in Pariah.
Okay.
And then, with Lady Bird, you have more like there was mental illness and substance abuse was the crux of part of the issue that was going on with the family unit. And it came from the mother's mother was an alcoholic, and, there's different issues, similar. I don't think there's not any funny moments in there. There's no lightheartedness in Pariah.
I see. Okay.
Where Lady Bird would give you, like, they would take you down a road and then they'd give you a break.
Right.
But Pariah is a pretty serious movie.
Okay.
But just really good.
Okay.
And I just think it deserves more. Like I said, I never hear anyone talk about it ever.
No,
and
I don't
it's such
either.
a huge accomplishment.
Well, it's already have a massive list. And I still have one more question.
Well, this one, the last question will be easy for you.
Well, what Criterion film brings you the most joy, hope, laughter, puts a smile on your face?
Well, Nathan stole my pick. Nathan, because we both enjoy farts. So we both pulled Good Morning.
There you go. Good morning.
Yeah. Good Morning will always be my go-to.
That's good.
So I had to go with my second choice, which is just as fun, if not more. It's the Arthur Hiller film, Spine Number 823, The In-Laws.
Oh, The In-Laws. Okay.
And we have Cinema Dave to thank for this one. He turned me on to this one. It's from 1979. And it stars Peter Falk and Alan Arkin. And their kids are getting married, and they kind of get into this caper where there seems to be crimes going on, and one gets pulled in, and it's a lot of like slapstick type of thing, but it's just a lot of fun. And
cool.
They don't really like each other, but they're trying to get along. And I don't want to give too much away because it's easy to ruin, but if you want to just sit down and laugh, watch The In-Laws. It'll make you laugh every single time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I have not seen that one.
You have not?
I have not.
You would really like this, I think. It's cool because it ends up having more depth than it would appear.
Okay.
So it's fun, but there's meaning to it.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Well, I've added it to the list.
that was my 80-minute, 5-minute video.
Well, I think we talked about Criterion for a good 15.
Yeah.
And Beatles and other stuff. Yeah.
Beatles, fifth grade failure.
Yeah. Yeah. Nathan and I ended up on basketball. Yeah. Sometimes it get
goes.
to Criterion, but
yeah, we got it.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for helping this out. I hope some people leave this video with some recommendations that maybe they never thought about before.
Yeah, I hope so. I tried to pick things different from what I usually talk about too. So
well, this is great. Like all of these videos have been very diverse in the picks.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of crossover almost at all. So
there's so much to choose from. So
yeah, the collection's enormous. It's great.
Yeah.
And friends, if you're watching, Stephanie and I are actually going to have another video after this one is released on horror in the Criterion Collection. So if you are a horror fan, and you all know I am a massive horror fan.
You are.
Yes, I'm growing. And so there's going to be a video with Stephanie coming up very soon on that one. So lots more picks to glean from Stephanie's collection. So awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thanks,
this is
John.
Fantastic. I always love talking to you. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.